Arthur has a suit that you can't see him in. Here's your look at the brand new McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, Aquaman with stealth suits. Half human, half Atlantean, Arthur Curry is Aquaman, the king of Atlantis and defender of Earth's vast oceans. As a founding member of the Justice League, he also protects the surface world from forces of evil. Aquaman's Atlantean physiology allows him to breathe underwater, swim at incredible speeds, and super strength to withstand the depths of the ocean. His royal lineage sets him apart from other Atlanteans, but also gives him the unique ability to telepathically communicate with marine life. While Curry can appear all camouflaged if he wants, luckily for us at least we can still see the figure. And while we can still see him, let's grab the tape measure and see how tall the figure stands. It doesn't utilize all the same body components as the original Aquaman looking at before. If you thought this was just a case that they have repainted the existing mold, think again, it's not the case at all. The figure though of Aquaman in stealth suit stands about 7 inches in height, or the figure is going to be about 17.5 centimeters tall. For those taking tally of their Atlanteans, you only really have one Atlantean that we can compare the stealth suit to. Here's what he looks like with the original Aquaman. It does seem, though, like the original Aquaman is just a little bit taller. It might have also something to do with the fact I don't maybe have the legs straight. If I was to maybe put them back to back, that's always seems to be the best way to kind of compare the two. Yeah, maybe Aquaman, the newest one from the stealth suit design, maybe he is just a little bit shorter than the original Arthur Curry, which, if that's the case, doesn't really make much sense at all. You would think that it's not like he'd be shrinking in size the moment he switches over to stealth suits. Sorry about spitting on everybody. Another figure we also just recently had a look at as well, my favorite from this wave, if I can get him to actually stand. Here's what the figure looks like. Well, not being Atlantean, here's what the figure looks like with Black Manta. Being it is yet another Aquaman, you get pretty much the same sort of stuff. The figure, first of all, comes included with a circular black display stand with the DC logo branded down below here. One neighboring peg off to the far corner that can, of course, plug into either one of his boots. You only have one peg, you have 2 feet. You have to choose for yourself which peg you want to place it in. The figure also comes included with a trading card, which is one thing really that is unique to this one that wasn't the same as the original Aquaman. I'm sure they could have easily just taken this one and colored it slightly different, but of course his suit is also different as well, so they've given him a different pose. Yeah, I liked it for Black Manta. Let's just reach off to the side and grab Black Manta's card. I wasn't really prepared to bring Black Manta's in, but here's Black Manta's. I think it looks a little bit better, honestly, than these ones. These kind of look like, you know, those poster apps where you can take a photo of yourself and you can posterize yourself or make yourself look like a cartoon character. Yeah, they're just using it basically just your personal information. I kind of feel like these cards are kind of looking a little like that. Arthur Curry took a photo of himself with that app, kind of wondered to himself what he would look like cartoonized. The figure on the back, though, or cards on the back, are exactly the same to one another. I did make this mention, I think, when we looked at the Black Manta card, that I do wish that they could have made the card descriptions a little bit more unique to the newest movie, and not just giving us sort of just a generalized statement about the characters. We can move those to the cards to the side. One thing that is also the same is the figure comes also included with the exact same trident. Just to prove that, though, just in case you didn't believe me, I'm going to bring in the original one so you guys can see they're exactly the same to one another. They're molded nicely. They got some really interesting sculpting, of course. If you can get really close down to the details, you can kind of see really nice work on McFarlane's part, but exactly the exact same trident. I can't really imagine that he's going to get an upgrade on suit, and he's also going to get an upgrade on the actual trident. It does fit into his hands. The figure at least benefits this time by actually having 2 gripping hands, so you can choose for yourself which hand you like to put it in. I always seem to default it to this hand. I mean, obviously, you can have it on this side, too. You can also really have him dual-wielding, holding it on both sides if you really wanted to have the figure displayed that way. One thing I did also want to mention, too, is that the plastic they used for the hands here seemed a little bit more easier to navigate, a little bit easier to move than the original Aquaman. I don't know what it was about the plastic on his hands, but the plastic seemed a little more rigid and a lot harder to bend and manipulate. These hands are actually a little bit more pliable. So let's go ahead, not remove the entire hand in the process. The hands still fall off very frequently on these pegs. So when you're making sure that you are popping, of course, off those tridents, you're not popping off any hands in the process. Getting, though, a closer look now at Stealth Suit Aquaman. My biggest takeaway was really liking the figure of Aquaman, the first one that we had a look at, but not necessarily loving the face. The more, though, I look at the two, I do feel like the newer one, and I say newer one only by the way that we've actually looked at these in timeline. They're obviously of the same wave, but there's something about this one I feel that looks a little bit more like Jason Momoa. I'm trying to look at really what is the thing that makes this one look so much better, and I think I've come down to it's the eyes. If you look at the more squinted eyes on the original Aquaman, and then you look at the ones that we get here for the stealth suit, it definitely does give him a much better likeness to the actor. It certainly does make him look a lot more like Aquaman. What you could also really do if you really wanted to, if you like this head and you like this body, you could, for all intents and purposes, just pop the head off the ball joint and take the ball joint with it. Take this one off also as well. Because they're using also the same size holes for their bodies, you can also easily then just pop this one in place and use this head sculpt for the regular Aquaman, and then of course use the other one for the stealth suit. I might just do that though, although obviously for the rest of this review, considering that this isn't the body it belongs to, I'm going to be putting it back to the stealth suit. But just so in case you wanted to know, you could in fact switch the heads out. I'm just going to pop those back off. Popping the head back in place here. Line everything up here too. Not only does it look a little bit like Aquaman, but I also feel it looks a little like Seth Rollins from WWE. I think it looks a lot like Jason Momoa, certainly from the side. It loses a little something the more you look at it from the front, but I will say like the eyes being larger makes it look a lot better than the decapitated head of the original Aquaman. Let's go ahead and put this one back on the body. Now, I did say at the beginning of this review that these are going to be exactly, well, I feel to be the exact same head sculpt, maybe just painted a little bit better. But the bodies, though, are very much different from one another. I haven't yet seen the new Aquaman movie. If you have, let me know down below in the comments section what you guys thought of The Lost Kingdom. I feel like, in a way, the new stealth suit is just one of those cases they need to make a new toy, a new figure. It's one of those maybe like Batman Forever kind of cases, where Batman just unfortunately has to have all his bat suits being destroyed by the Riddler. And he just so happens to have that one lone prototype suit he decides to wear instead. This one, from what I see, at least allows Aquaman to turn invisible. It does certainly beg then the question, if he can turn invisible, why doesn't he just wear this suit all the time? Unless maybe there's a limited time. Maybe the suit also gets damaged in the movie. I don't really know because I haven't yet seen the film. I do really like the detailing on this one. It takes away the larger bulk that he has on the shoulders for the original suit. It also streamlines the more clunkier looking gloves and bulkier looking boots that he has as well. And it does make things a little bit more streamlined. I do also really like the coloring on this one. While not being really more traditional looking Aquaman colors of the orange and then the green down below, this sort of stealth suit does have kind of a bluish gray tint to it. It's a really interesting color. It's really hard, in fact, while describing this, to come up with the appropriate color of what I think this looks like. It looks a little like green. It looks a little bluish. It certainly does have a little bit of a silverish to it as well. I like the shoulders also, too. They're a little bit more fitted to his body. Again, not as big and bulky as the original one we had a look at. It's, again, a really clean-looking suit. Not one we can traditionally think of when it comes to Aquaman, but certainly one that works really well for this particular character. Even really, when you're looking at the belt, for example, he still has the symbol on the front of his belt buckle, but what he then is missing, though, if I just move his arms up, is he's missing these little side flaps that he had on the original figure. And, of course, the boots are a little bit more tapered off, not as bulky, and they certainly didn't have the problem. Remember, when we had a look at this figure, I had this little part. I still have yet to fix it. This little piece of thinner plastic got bent when it was sitting inside the tray. I don't have that. Actually, you know what? I just realized now I've got a little bit of gold here on one of the boots. I'm wondering if I could clean that up. But speaking of cleaning up, though, the stealth suit does clean up generally the body and the build of Aquaman. Still, though, I don't know why. I mean, looking at the two figures, yeah, there's definitely a size difference between the two. I'm putting these feet flat to flat, side to side. And I don't know why, for one reason or another, this Aquaman is a lot shorter than the original one. You would think that they would have simply just used the same proportions, and yet this one is notably shorter. Let's go ahead and have a look at the articulation now for Aquaman. His head is going to be on a ball joint, as still the same from before. Head looks back and forth and up and down, and obviously just because he's got the longer hair like this, it's going to make things a little bit harder when it comes to rotating the head back and forth. The shoulders do easily come out at 90 degrees. There's nothing really getting in the way. There's no shoulder pads big and bulky to be in the way. So those arms also rotate very easily all the way around. The figure has a swivel in the bicep on this side also as well. The figure has a double hinge on the elbow as well. And the hands do, of course, rotate all the way around. Upper torso is going to be on a ball joint, and further from that, the figure also has at the very bottom of his abdomen another ball joint, so you can rotate it in two places. Legs are splitting on a ratchet joint. You can see the inside cavity of the thighs. You can bring the legs forward, bring the legs back, swivel at the top of the thigh only mildly, double hinge on the knee. No articulation once again for the boot, because the boot's just a continued sculpt from the lower end of his leg. But then he does have, again, the ankle pivot up and down this way. and a rock back and forth this way as well with some toe articulation. I like the look of this one, but again, like not knowing yet what happens in the movie and why he really needs to use this stealth suit. I've only seen really a clip where he basically uses it to dispense a bunch of just random monsters. It begs again the question, if he could turn invisible, why doesn't he just use this suit all the time? And once again, there's the original Aquaman suit, so you guys can see the differences between the two. For one reason or another, McFarlane's team decided to make the stealth suit slightly shorter, but I do actually like the stealth suit quite a lot. Whether it's just a case that they had to come up with another suit just to throw out new, new merchandise, new figures, whatever the case may be. I do like the look of the suits. And it does, I feel, possess a much better, much more superior head sculpt to the original Aquaman we looked at from before. Not only does Aquaman get an upgrade in his suit, but I feel he also gets an upgrade when it comes to the figure. First of all, the figure finally possesses double gripping hands, instead of just having the one sole hand that the first Aquaman had and then just substituting it out with these weird kind of dynamic hands. This one at least benefits from having two gripping hands so he can actually properly hold the weapon that he wields with both grips. The figure also has an upgrade when I feel it comes to the head sculpt. I feel it's probably the same head sculpt, but this was just a case that's painted a little bit better. It goes to really show that you could have a really good sculpt on a figure's head, but if it isn't painted properly, it loses the likeness. I feel like maybe the first Aquaman was fine, but this one does a better job of bearing a likeness to Jason Momoa. So again, one of the benefits, at least of this one, using the same sized ball joints. If you don't like the one on the original Aquaman, simply just pop them off and swap them around. I'm not sure if I'm really going to do that, because I don't also really want to give this guy, I feel, to be the lesser of the two heads, because I actually like the look of this suit. It may not be a suit that lasts very long in the movie. He might very well only have it for one single scene. You guys can let me know if you've seen the movie already. And I know it just feels like once, again, those cases of a Batman Forever, where for no reasons whatsoever, Aquaman gets this one upgrade suit, and then you never see it again for the rest of the film. Again, if it turns invisible, you just would think that Aquaman Arthur Curry would just use it for the remaining of the movie. I don't know. I'm still going to have to see the movie. Speaking of seeing the movies, though, have you guys had the chance to see the new Aquaman? And if you have, let me know down below in the comments section what you guys thought of it. Also, as well, if you guys enjoyed this video, I want to hit with a like. If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing and you'd like to stick around for more, we've got one more figure we're going to be looking at from the new Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So if that's the kind of thing you guys would like to come back to this channel for, hey, it's easy. Come back to this channel, because not only are we going to be looking at some more DC Multiverse stuff, but we're also going to be looking at some other stuff as well. As always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.